you're Flavia Colgan, right?
Yes, I am.
And we're actually in the same Harvard, we're graduated at the same time, class of 99 at Harvard.
Yeah.
But I was in government and you did religious studies, right?
Comparative Study of Religion, yes.
Yeah. And so you've always been a religious or spiritual, and yet you got into, I guess, film production and Hollywood to some extent.
Right.
How'd that happen? Why didn't you go and become a priest or become part of a religious organization?
Well, I think part of why I studied comparative study of religion is it's really the study of history, sociology, and there's so many, it's an interdisciplinary study really, and it's kind of the language that so many people speak. So you're going to be able to really connect on an emotional level. I think for many people, you really have to understand their spirituality, or at least be able to meet them kind of and understand where they're coming from that perspective. It's the way that we connect with ourselves and to people around us. And I think spending so much time reading, spiritual texts, it really inspires you to want to make your life about making a contribution and kind of delving into that deeper level.
Yeah.
And so my career, whether it's from government or into television, has really been about trying to do programming that I think is uplifting and inspiring.
Yeah.
I was able, in a literal way, to use my degree in a series that I did for Travel Channel called Miracle Quest, where I got to travel the world in search of miracles and interview skeptics and believers and scientists. Or with a series I did for CBS called Extraordinary People, where I could
Extraordinary People,
where I could travel around the country and really try to highlight and shed light on folks that are doing amazing things. Average, ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And so I think, when you look at the history of saints and different spiritual leaders throughout time, a lot of them came from very humble beginnings and really were able to do extraordinary things. So to me, I don't see it as too divergent, and also obviously it feeds me on a personal level day to day to have that connection to something higher in terms of.
Well, I mean, you said a prayer before you ate this lunch. So.
I did. I never eat anything, and I certainly don't start my day or finish my day without saying some sort of prayer of gratitude at least, to be able to be here and experiencing this amazing universe. Being born in America is a privilege as well in terms of all the freedoms that we have here. And to be able to share lunch with a friend is also a blessing.
Well, you just went on a pilgrimage in Spain, right?
Yes, I did.
A very long, 100 miles pilgrimage.
El Camino de Santiago.
Okay.
I did not do the entire pilgrimage whatsoever. I did just the last leg of it in Spain, which ended in Santiago de Compostela, in the Galician region of Spain. And it was a wonderful experience. It was a really great time to kind of be disconnected from everything, whether social media, internet, phones, and just have that time to, be contemplative and be grateful and to just enjoy the simple things around you, which I think in our sort of hustle bustle of life is often hard to do, to really connect with nature and ourselves and have that quiet space. So it was really amazing.
So it's a way of recentering yourself after all that activity.
Absolutely.
And since then, you've been also involved in a new project, a documentary about construction and work accidents, and that's taken up a lot of your time.
I've been working on that for a couple of years now, 2 years. It's on worker safety and the preventable deaths that happen in this country in construction, mining, and so forth, and the lack of regulations that we need, and more importantly, not enforcing the regulations that we do have, and some of the corruption that also takes place in really preventing us from doing what we should do for the people that are building our country, that we depend upon. And I really think that we should be held to a higher standard to make sure that when folks go off to work in the morning, they can know that besides, accidents, which do happen, that those that can be prevented should be. I think that's an obligation that we should have as a nation and something we should strive towards.
Well, I mean, it's a noble cause to shine a spotlight on that. And I mean, you went through a Kickstarter and a nonprofit to get funding, so you're doing all independent?
Absolutely, which is definitely a lot more than I bargained for. Doing independent films is very difficult. But we keep trudging on and making sure that we can bring these stories so that we can inform people across the country on what's really happening in the community.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously this project is important right now. You want to finish that, but did we ever go into the mystical space again of doing documentaries about religious sites around the world? Or
absolutely, I would love to. I would love to expand more on the Miracle Quest show that I've already done, and we'll see what shape that takes place. I'm not there yet, so we'll see what opportunities unfold. But absolutely, I'd love to do that. And I think there's a lot of developments and things that are happening in neuroscience and quantum physics that are really bringing. We've come to think that science and faith are antithetical to one another. But really, there's so much that's really proving the power of belief and the ability that we have through meditation and through prayer to really impact our bodies and the world around us. And I think that's a very interesting space to look at.
Yeah.
And I also think that in this world of so much distraction and where we can often feel so isolated and separated from other people, I think that really helping people find a spiritual path that works for them is something that can really enrich our lives in so many ways. So it's something that I care very much about.
Well, I think one of the shows we were planning to do, we've already done 2 radio shows together, and we were planning on doing one about I think the Vedas or Sanskrit. That's right.
Right.
The language of God. I think you described it as.
Right.
So I still want to do that, and I mean it's so cool that you managed to have a very intense and deep religious part of you, a spiritual part of you, while having a film career and going to a top college. I mean, you combine so many things just in your own life.
Thank you. I think a lot more people do that than we realize.
Yes.
And I think because it's something that's so personal and private for many people and their sort of internal life and their faith practices. But I think that if you look at a lot of people, I think that it's something that's very meaningful.
Yeah.
It certainly is very nourishing and something that you kind of, for me, have to touch back into to really be a part of this hectic, chaotic, crazy world we live in.
Yeah, and there has to be some centering force for us because we can get so busy so easily, and especially with technology. I mean, after you came back from your trip to Spain, you decided to go offline in a sense. It's disconnect from Facebook, and you don't even have a smartphone. So,
well, I think sometimes it's nice to be able to just plan ahead when you're going to sort of correspond, and when you have the smartphone and when you're so connected all the time, it's easy to just respond immediately. And I think sometimes we don't realize that it's really our prerogative. We can choose our own destiny and say, you know what, I'm going to just be present with the people that I'm around, and when I need to respond to things and kind of engage in technology, great. But I think it's sometimes we have to stop to be able to control and use technology for positive things as opposed to being controlled by it.
Yeah.
Which I think is...
And that just is about discipline, having self-control, knowing where to direct your attention for how long. And I mean, that's one of the things I think is valuable about spirituality and religion. It can teach you how to do that if you haven't already figured that out yourself.
Oh, and it's hard. It's a temptation. I know for myself, it would be pretty difficult if I had the iPad like right here, not to look down at it when you're getting the dingings.
Yeah.
It's easier said than done.
True.
So the way that I discipline myself to it is not to have access to it.
Yeah.
And that guarantees that I won't be distracted on my phone while trying to have a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, just remove it from your environment and that takes care of it.
Right, absolutely.
But I mean, I think I'm kind of the opposite because I've realized how tempting it is, and so I only use the technology for a very specific purpose, recording it right now. I mean, I know that I can use it for that, but I refuse to let it distract me any other way.
Well, that's great. That's really great. I'm sure you could do seminars about that all across the country because people definitely need to learn that skill.
Yeah. Well, and partly the reason I had that skill is because, as I've already told you, I've been learning to discipline myself for the past 20 years and transforming myself. So this is just a natural extension of who I've learned how to be.
Right.
I mean, I think every person's kind of work in progress. And in my own case, I've kind of come to a point of completion in my own journey. And it seems like, you're maybe in a point of transition in your journey.
Sure, absolutely. Well, part of it is not a transition that some transitions you don't fully control, in the sense that if we look at the media landscape now, a lot of the shows and things that I have been interested in doing are falling out of favor. I mean, we see a lot more reality shows and kind of, I think the interest is still there, but the financial investment that networks have to make for a show that's really substantive, where you're traveling, or it's, more expensive than just having people in a house, is not happening anymore. And so you have to figure out what are other channels to get the message out, and to be engaged in doing things that you feel are making a difference.
Yeah. Well, on that note, good luck on your documentary, and I'm really looking forward to doing another show with you in the near future.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you in person.
Thank you so much.
Good luck with your continued success on your radio show and your travels. I think it's amazing that you're traveling the country and putting a face to all the names, and it sounds really exciting. I'm sure you'll come back with lots of fun and amazing stories from you.
Oh, I am, yes.